Welcome to the Brand Aid Conversation. I'm back with Kyle Hermans of Synectics World. And Kyle, I wanted to chat today about one of my favorite brand stories of all times, the AFLAC duck. Do you know about AFLAC? You know, the little quacking duck that goes, AFLAC?
AFLAC.
You know, it's a great story. American Federated Life Assurance Company. What a boring name, huh? I think they thought so too. There was a great article I read a couple of years ago in Harvard Business Review about how the a new CEO came in and took over the company, and they had just a horrible problem with no consumer recognition at all of the brand, to the point that they would run TV ads and like 9% of the people would remember what the name of the company was after they'd run an ad. So it was like pretty bad, right? And somewhere along the way, he had the courage to step out and look at something different. And they had what they called a creative shootout with several ad agencies to come up with a campaign. And I guess some executive from one of the ad agencies came in one day and he couldn't remember the name of the company himself. And he goes, AFLAC, AFLAC, AFLAC. It sounds like a duck. And literally that's how they came up with the duck. So, you know, the success of the duck is just what's really interesting, to see how that worked to create a connection with the consumer that the brand had otherwise been unable to do. So that's an important aspect of branding, is in building a brand.
I believe so too. I think the ability to be playful, but also the ability to, and the courage to actually take a risk. So in this particular case, it's kind of funny. Something that would have really maybe offended some other people, they took a shot at it. So, and the play there, I think customers really relate to that. Although they may not know much about insurance, which is why they're hiring the services of an insurance company, one of the things here is that if you give them something that they can associate with and a name that becomes playful, they will immediately begin to resonate with that, because it's a company that makes a little bit of fun of itself. It is a little playful, it's kind of courageous to some degree, and simultaneously they'll say, actually, I want to find out a little bit more about that. And if you think about it, what other insurance companies at that time were branding themselves in that way, or taking that kind of approach to putting themselves out?
Yeah, Geico's Gecko is sort of a knockoff of that concept.
I guess so. They came a little bit afterwards. But the idea here is suddenly when you say the name, you're going to think it does sound like a duck. You're going to remember the duck, and if you remember the duck, you'll remember the name, and then you'll remember what they do. So it's actually really good.
And the key is results. I mean, let's look at the impact. That's what is really staggering. Is the company went to an overall brand recognition value that shot through the roof with the consumer, and then their sales like doubled in 3 years, and they're the number one life insurance company in Japan now.
Fantastic.
And the Japanese aspect of the story is actually as interesting as the American part, which is, from my understanding, is there was some reluctance on the part of the Japanese director to buy in on the program, and but when he did finally, and I'll let you share that part of the story, but when he finally did, and they had such success, they had to change. I guess a duck can't quack in Japanese culture; it has to have a little bit of a different sound, right? So the people they came up with something that made him a little more warm and fuzzy, and he's a protector of people and families. But when they launched a website and a Facebook campaign, there was something like 100,000 people logged on to submit. I think they had a contest for submitting your own version of the commercials, and there was something like 100,000 submissions in the first 2 weeks. So that,
again, building on that idea of being playful and giving ownership of the brand to the consumer. You tell us what you think. You tell us how you're connecting to this. You take ownership of it, and it actually brings that character to life. It brings, the fuzzy character. It brings the duck to life. It brings the brand name to life, and it actually goes far beyond the idea of even being about insurance. It becomes, okay, this is a brand that I'd like to be part of, would like to own moving forward. And going back to what you mentioned earlier as well, is that I guess in that particular culture, they were a little more resistant to the playfulness or even the risk of, okay, we want to actually brand ourselves with a duck. So what they did was incentivize the senior managers there to, if you run with this and it hits, you will get paid a really good
Bonus.
And they did, and they thought, what's there to be lost? And it did
I think that's
hit.
called skin in the game, right?
Skin in the game. But the thing there as well is if you apply a different type of motivation, because there are two worlds here. You've got the business world, the operational world of the business is how are we going to drive and really get to where we need to get to? Okay, we kind of answered the customer side of it, which is we've built up something that they can take ownership of. But will the business get behind that? Well, one way to do that is let the brand speak for itself, let it resonate with the consumers in their own way, motivate your business to do the business that it should do. And it hit, and everybody won. So it's a really, really good story. And it's, again, a question to the brands, which is, what could you do that could be courageous with your brand? What could you do to take kind of a serious thing like life insurance and make it playful? If you could take something that, if you have a serious product or a serious service, what could you do to make it playful that would really start to expand your brand?
We all tend to take ourselves way too seriously sometimes, right?
Sometimes we sure do.
Yeah, especially, like a life insurance company, how do you make that playful? And there's certainly a great example of someone who's done it. AFLAC.